Hey, what's up, Geekscapists? Welcome to a brand new Geekscape episode. I'm Jonathan London, your host, and each week I like to talk to pop culture professionals. Maybe they're in movies, maybe they're in comics or TV or video games, and we talk about their stories, why they tell stories, the kind of stories they tell, all that. I'm pretty much obsessed with it ever since I was, a kid. Grew up reading comic books, watching movies, and then my first job was at Westlake Comics and Cards over on Beat Caves Road in Austin, Texas. It's arguably the best job I ever had. And my obsession with comic books and pop culture was solidified. Now I'm here in Los Angeles. We make a couple movies. We do all sorts of stuff. And since 2006, we've been doing Geekscape. Hopefully your favorite podcast if you're a longtime listener. If not, how have you been spending the time? Why are you still with us if this is not your favorite podcast? But if you haven't ever heard of us, well, hopefully this is your new favorite podcast. I've got a great show for you guys today, guys and gals. I got to be careful with the pronouns. It's 2020. You got to be careful with the pronouns. I don't know how you identify. Hopefully, you identify as a Geekscapist. But I have a good show for you, Geekscapists, of any genders that you identify with. Actor Bill Sage is here, and he's going to be joining me to talk about a brand new movie called The Pale Door. It's sort of a horror movie that has a bit of Western to it. Is it more of a Western than a horror movie? I don't know, but it's definitely a horror Western. I like a lot of elements to this movie, and you can kind of trust that it's going to have some cool parts to it because the director and I think one of the writers, Aaron Kuntz, I got to ask Bill, but is he related to Dean Kuntz? All I know is that when the credits came up and I saw Joe R. Lansdale's name in the credits, I was like, oh, he's a horror writer, and he's a really popular horror writer, a very good horror writer, and he's involved in this movie, so it's going to have some cool concepts in it, and over the course of the movie, some of those concepts played out. I will want to call it a witch or a vampire movie, but I don't think that they're going strictly with any of those witches or vampires as we know them, but I do know that if you're watching this early on Monday morning, you are not working. If you were my employee, I would fire you. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, welcome to the show. Or maybe you're listening to this on the podcast feed later on. But hope you're well. As I said on the last episode, my cross-country road trip is over. And I'm back in LA, and the Geekscapes are going to start coming fast and furiously at you. So that's what I got for y'all. I hope you're well. I hope you're doing good. I hope that you're surviving this pandemic. I don't know how much longer it's going to last. But we're here for you. We're going to keep doing shows, and Geekscape loves you. Let's bring in Bill Sage, though. He's the actor in The Pale Door. You might have also seen him in movies like American Psycho or TV shows like Power, Reprisal. He's got a lot going on. Kaylee Turner off of Facebook says, well, it's actually Monday night over here. I don't know where Kaylee lives or if I'm even pronouncing her name correctly, but happy Monday night. I hope you had a filling dinner. I hope that you have enjoyed yourself and that tonight when you have a dream, that it's a nice one and not a nightmare. So you may not want to watch The Pale Door before you go to sleep. That's what I did last night. And I had a dream that Heidi, my girlfriend who I had just crossed the country with, dumped me. That was a nightmare. And I called my friend Ron to be like, hey, she dumped me. I don't know what to do. What did you have for breakfast? And he said he had bacon, and I don't know what else he had, but it sounded dumb. It was a nightmare, and I had a nightmare because I watched The Pale Door. But Kaylee lives in Edinburgh, she says. So hello, Scotland. I think that's Scotland. That's Scotland. Hello. And then Carla just gives us a love heart. She's in Mexico. I know because that's my cousin. All right. That's enough filibustering on Geekscape. Sorry, audio listeners, but here's Bill. Bill, how are you doing? Welcome to Geekscape. Good. This is actor Bill Sage. Sorry about all that. Catching the Geekscapists up on a few things.
Hi, Jonathan. Good to see you, man. Yeah.
Are you here in LA with me?
Oh, so no, I'm in the Catskill Mountains of New York City, just outside of New York.
Holy cow. Is that where you live? You live up in the mountains?
Yeah.
That's got to be kind of nice, right?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it works for a pandemic. It's great. great when your pandemic.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit on the show, but my stepdad in Santa Fe, New Mexico, lives outside of Santa Fe. His whole thing when this was going down was, what's your plan for leaving California when the pandemic hits? And I mean, are we any safer anywhere? California, yeah, has a lot of people in it. But, you got to stay smart. I just made it from Los Angeles through the southern states, New Orleans, Austin, up to South Carolina and back. And I feel like people were being pretty safe. And the people that didn't seem like they were that safe, I just stayed the hell away from.
Well, New York City got it right. I mean, people were wearing masks, and it was, if they can flatten the curve in New York City, then they can do it anywhere.
Yeah, and then you see these videos of like raves and stuff happening, and I think that really the pandemic that we're fighting, it might be more dangerous than the invisible enemy. Is stupidity, like intelligence, like
that's what we're really fighting.
Yeah, where do you follow this thing? Like, what are some of the things that you've done as an actor to survive this pandemic? Because I mean, you're already in the Catskills, so you're already like, I'm going to put myself in the most comfortable, cool place I can think of, and just chill this thing out. But as an actor, you want to be acting, and like Geekscape, is anybody looking at Bill's IMDb? You're a really active actor. Like, you've had a consistent career for almost 30 years, and it's TV, it's film, And
I did a podcast with Katrina Longsworth. She does an amazing podcast called "You Must Remember This" about Hollywood's history of Hollywood in the 20th century, and this latest one is about Polly Platt, the Invisible Woman, and she was the motor behind a lot of Peter Bogdanovich's great films like The Last Picture Show. She was, Paper Moon. She was the reason a lot of men succeeded, and so I highly recommend her podcast on Polly Platt.
What's the name of it? And do you know the name of the podcast? We just search for Polly Platt.
No, you put in. You can do that, but you must remember this, Katrina.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
you must remember. So you guessed it on that one.
I had spoken with. I had heard the Charlie Manson's Hollywood was one that she did, and I'd spoken to Noah Seeg, and he recommended me for this project, and I did it. And so I've also been doing other art pieces, installation art pieces, just narrating, recorded a book and stuff like that, and just trying to keep busy.
Is it I've fallen on you have your days, right, where you feel invigorated, and then your days where you just feel defeated. But I think that the invigorated days have outnumbered the defeated days, simply because I feel like you got to be like one of these creatures in the Galapagos. Those that evolve will survive. And as an actor, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, someone has to stay creative. We're evolving brand new art forms and ways of delivering the stories that we have to deliver. As somebody who loves broadcasting, like myself, we started this live video streaming thing in April when this happened, and I think that I'm just having so much more fun with it. And you get to talk to the audience, you get to talk to people in Edinburgh, like we did earlier. I've got somebody on Facebook saying, I'm at work, and if you narc on me, I will find you. That's a generic Facebook user who's hidden their identity, just to say, because I called them out for being at work and watching Geekscape. But how have you evolved during this pandemic? As someone who's usually in front of a camera or on a stage, perhaps, like, how have you survived this thing as an actor? Is this stuff new to you? I think is what I'm asking when I talk about the stuff that you've been recording.
I think in terms of narrations, I have developed new skills, read more books. Be honest, I watched a lot more TV shows. Been physically active. I mean, I've had the opportunity because I'm up here, I'm able to stay more physically active. And, I could, the Zoom thing, if there's too many people on it, I get a headache. So that's not for me.
Yeah, I think as creatives, there's enough voices in our heads without, adding to it with the Zoom. I don't know if I'm a big Zoom fan.
No, right. Yeah. And I do a lot of writing. Some of the poetry that I write, I share on Instagram and some on Facebook.
Yeah, and so this Pale Door. This is the movie I watched last night that gave me nightmares. How did you get involved in this thing? Because it feels to me watching this movie that like names like Aaron Kuntz. Like, is that Dean Kuntz's son, or is that Dean Kuntz himself working under a surname?
You brought that up. I mean, I've read Dean Kuntz's stuff, but I just never thought about it.
I mean, but Dean Kuntz is like an older guy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing Aaron Kuntz is a younger dude.
He's a younger dude, yeah.
Joe R. Lansdale is a longtime like horror writer, and he's involved in the movie. Like that is the Joe R. Lansdale, I'm guessing.
That's right, and that's how it came to me through his son Keith.
Okay.
Joe, I've worked with before a couple times. I did Happen Leonard, the series, and Cold in July, and so I just it came to me through Keith, and I read the script and loved it. And particularly, what was interesting about this was the women characters. When that you weren't expecting that. They were these guys wandered into the wrong brothel.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, they're supposed to be the protagonists, but the witches in the story have their reasons, and once you find that out.
And there are witches, right? Because if you watch the trailer in Geekscape, you can go watch the trailer for The Pale Door. It's over on YouTube. You start to think that they're vampires. We've seen that before in something like Dusk Till Dawn. So if you're a fan of Dusk Till Dawn and those kind of movies where there's a group of outlaws ends up in the wrong bordello, in Dusk Till Dawn, they're vampires. Here they are witches, but they doesn't mean they can't climb the ceiling. Which like vampires do not have like a monopoly on creepily running around on the ceiling.
They don't. They don't.
But you got a very similar story. But what I liked about this one, the reason it jumped out at me was it's a Western too. And like that's the cool thing about it is that you've got a Western. And I mean, looking at your IMDb, looking at your career, I don't know how much of a chance you had to do that much period stuff.
No, not a traditional Western so much. I can ride horses and all that kind of stuff, but like guns, spinning guns, I had to learn that very quickly when I got there.
Mm-hmm. And you showcase it too in that train scene. It's like a shot was designed just to show you spinning a gun.
That was shot in the first week too, so I'm panicking. I thought, well, if I can get through that, then I get through this whole thing, and I did. I nailed it on the first take, and then every subsequent take was a disaster. The gun's falling, I'm missing the holster. But I said, please tell me you got that first take, because I just lucked out. Because it was just, it's much harder than it looks, and it's much simpler than it looks as well. But you just got to get it. It always drives me crazy in any Western where the gun goes back in the holster, but you see the person look down. It's like, no, you can't look down. So, I wanted to be able to spin both guns, pull out, spin both guns, put it back in.
Super cool. And if you do it with a cutaway, if you do it with a close-up, then it's cheating.
It's cheating.
Like you got to do it in a oneer. You have to do it, hopefully walking. You got to do it in a oneer. You got to do it in a Western. Like, isn't that I mean, as a director, that's the shot is the Western from the hip up.
We're not cutting away in it. It's exactly what I did. And then there was I did start to get very good at it. And luckily, so we spotlighted other things. Like there's a spin, and then he goes to the door, and Aaron was always finding cool stuff for that.
And Aaron, he's a young guy. Was this his first feature film, or like what was going on there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been successful in the gaming world,
Mhm.
But so he comes with a wonderful childlike quality, highly intelligent, and a degree of competence because he has been successful, But this is his first feature.
And he's a video game guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which you see a bit of that there. You see it. I mean, um, he was a little shy at first, and then forget it, he was great. I mean, everybody got along on this thing, and I think that's largely because of him.
And how long did y'all shoot? Because I just had a director on named Robin Pront 2 episodes ago, and he was shooting in like Ontario, Canada, rural Ontario, Canada. It was similarly night shoots in the
Yeah,
woods, night shoots in the summer, fighting mosquitoes.
yeah,
Um,
oh yeah,
but I think that he had a pretty strict and aggressive window with which to shoot. So in the nights are shorter in the winter or in the summer. So he had to really race the sun coming up. Did y'all find yourselves, and it's tough for a first director like Aaron to deal with this, but did y'all find yourselves fighting that schedule because there's a lot of
yeah.
night shoots?
A lot of night shoots, and we were fighting the weather. So we had a tornado hit early on. We all had to move to another hotel. It landed. You could see it land. It was right. You could see it right there. So, and it's
Where would y'all shoot this?
Just outside of Oklahoma City. So it's blowing hail sideways, and everybody had to move hotels because it blew in through the air conditioning vents, and your floor was soaked, and
Wait,
there were a lot
what?
of yeah. No,
That's its own horror movie. You should have just filmed that.
I know. Well, he did get some. He got stuff like there were lightning storms that were incredible. Stan Shaw and I were out like, oh, they're yelling at us. You guys can't be out there. You guys can't be out there.
But you're watching this stuff, yeah.
But that oh my God. Oh, it's like, so we'd have to stop, and it would come quick. Sometimes you'd have 15 minutes to get everybody inside, and we've got an electrical storm coming, and these storms were really close. All you had to do is just put your iPhone up, and you're going to catch this amazing storm.
Have you been reading about these fire nados that are happening now? As if 2020 couldn't be like any weirder or any more hellish. You're now hearing about these fire nados, which are tornadoes, but they erupt out of the wind that is whipping these fires. So they whip the fire up into the sky, and now you have a tornado made out of flames.
Yeah. It's kinetic energy. Yeah, it's just
So why not just have those? Why not 2020? While you're throwing murder hornets at us, why not a couple fire nados just to make things fun for the whole family? So you're shooting in Oklahoma City, but you grew up in New York, I'm guessing, because you're in the Catskills. You went to SUNY Purchase.
I did go to SUNY Purchase. I didn't grow up in New York. I grew up. My dad was career Navy, so we grew up moving all over. I'm born in Oakland, California. So,
and when you talk to a lot of actors come out of that background where, as kids, they moved around a lot. A lot of military families.
Yeah.
I mean, because you go to a new school, you have to kind of make new friends. You can change whoever you are every new school that you have. So maybe one school you're popular, the next school you're at the bottom of the totem pole or the pecking order. What was it like for you? How did you develop those chops as an actor? And did that lend itself to it?
Yes, I think that's exactly right. I think that I was in 6 different schools in first and second grade alone. That's how much we moved. So you're always, I think I'm hardwired to reinvent myself, hardwired to, and very comfortably to put on a different skin. And the key thing is just knowing who you are, so that you have some kind of balance, so you have some sort of security. I was close with my dad, and my parents were good. And, I grew up working on cars and that kind of stuff. So,
And that was in high school. That was in middle school, high school.
Yeah.
you were working with your hands, you were doing the car
Yeah.
thing. Was that something that you did on your own, or was that something that your father,
No.
it was a hobby of his, or how many siblings did you have?
One, my younger sister. That was my father's. That was my father's. That's what he did. I mean, he was career Navy, so he worked on submarines, and all his time when he was home was working on cars. That's what he did. So I learned that, and
And what made you pursue acting? Because it seems like, we talked about moving around a lot and having to reinvent yourself from school to school. But working on cars, you get a bit of a engineering mind. My older brother worked on cars, and then that led him to working on saltwater aquariums, or really anything that he could take apart and put back together. Why is that still a part of what you do in your art when you say that you're doing installation artwork or things like that? How does that lend itself to the pursuit of acting?
Art was always something that was more of my mother's leaning, so that was always something that I gravitated towards as well. But I had read something about Robert Duvall coming from a Navy family, and I thought that, and also the Great Santini was something I saw when I was a young person, and I related to it. And so I had a much better relationship with my father, but still that kind of patriarchal, male, strong, like you were supposed to be a certain way. It was okay for me, but I think that my mother and my sister had a big influence on me as well, and I think that I was very, I entertained my mother and my sister wherever we went. So I think I got that kind of that feedback from them. So
did they have a tougher time with the moving around?
Yeah. By the time we got to, my dad was working on the Brooklyn Navy Yard. I was a young teenager, and my parents split up there. And
enough is enough.
Enough is enough. It's a lot.
Right.
It's a lot. And he was an enlisted guy. So my parents are young. So he went in as an E1, which is, he's riding submarines as a torpedoman. That's the bottom. But my dad had a long career, 34 years in the Navy, retired in the Pentagon. This is a guy who never went to college. I mean, he went to officers training school. He passed a few years ago. He was an extraordinary guy,
But Bill, seeing this person who you like revere, and then seeing, even though he's making all the right choices, maybe he's making all the right choices, but he's definitely doing the career mindset. You're revering him as a son, I'm guessing, because you're working on cars with him, you're taking it. But then seeing the fallout, and it's almost like you can't even, it's not intentional. It's not built out of anger or hate, anything. I mean, maybe youth and experience, but then seeing it, you develop this protective side for your mother and your sister.
Yeah.
And you see the strain they're going through. And so did that lend itself to some form of everything is okay performance sort of?
Well,
because it's a tough place to put a kid in.
Yeah, well, I was taught, I think I've had a long career also because I was taught to do things on my own, I put myself through college. These are things I did on my own. I learned how to take care of myself young, and at the same time, my parents were extremely supportive. They were, and my dog just came in. All right, buddy.
I love it. It's all good. We can have dogs on the show. I love having dogs on the show.
Hey, Max. You want to say hi, Max? Hi, buddy.
Max is awesome.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. So,
sorry, audio listeners, but there's a very cute dog on the screen, and you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch if you want to go and watch the dog. You're in this place, and why SUNY Purchase? What's going on there?
Oh, it was affordable. You could afford it. It was a state school, and we were in New York at the time. So I had gone a couple years to the University of Rhode Island studying engineering, and the TAP and Pell Grant and financial aid that I had was drastically cut. So I took a year off, and then I took an acting course as an elective at a community college, and then somebody suggested that I audition for these League of Professional Training Schools, which was SUNY Purchase and Carnegie Mellon and NYU, and so I did, and SUNY Purchase was the one that appealed to me, but it was also one I knew I could pay for.
Right. Carnegie Mellon's really well known for their theater department, and obviously there's NYU, but those are pretty expensive schools.
Yeah.
NYU is steep.
No, I couldn't afford that. Even with the money they were going to give me, it was not anything that was in my wheelhouse to afford at the time.
So you have this audition, you get this shot at SUNY Purchase, and then you show up on campus. How much experience of acting had you had up to that point? Did you consider yourself an actor again, like as a
I thought
previous collegiate? You had tried engineering.
No, I was the only one there that had never done a school play. I knew nothing. I thought they're going to discover that I'm doing, But the one who helped me out, I met. I was really close friends with Edie Falco, one of the first people I met when I got to SUNY Purchase, and we dated a couple of years. We stayed friends forever. We're still good friends. Saw her just the other day. We're doing a movie coming up together.
Oh, so, wow.
I'm godfather to her children. I mean, that's how close we are.
Edie was in a film. My film school, I love him so much. Eric Mendelsohn put Edie in a few movies.
Another best friend of mine.
You're friends with Eric Mendelsohn?
Best friends with Eric Mendelsohn.
Get out of here. Eric and I just saw each other last summer. I was in New York. Eric, I was ready to bail at Columbia for film school when I came in. I mean, I was, you come into film school and you want to like show off and do all these cool things that you saw in a movie, and maybe you saw it in a John Woo movie, maybe you saw it in another movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
You're trying to just prove yourself because everybody else is either, I should not have gone straight from undergrad into film school. I just shouldn't have. I should have lived a little so I actually knew what to make movies about rather than just be a punk ass from a video store. And Eric sat me down and he said, "You're finally getting it." When I chilled the hell out, and it took a lot of failure and a lot of really crappy films, I just was like, okay, here's a simple scene of two people. I give up. Here's two people talking to each other. I give up. And I did a simple setup of two people talking to each other, and Eric goes, "Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's what you've been trying to do. That's it." But man, the number of teachers that I wish that I could have so many of those teachers back and actually be able to listen to them.
Well, he's a special one. He is, because he's, he hasn't directed a lot of films, and he could have, but he loves teaching. And I mean, look at the films that Through an Open Window, he goes to Cannes. Judy Berlin. I mean, every film he directs, he not only goes to Sundance, he wins Best Director.
It's insane. And you hear the stories of him being offered like an A-list movie star and another movie, and then Eric loses control of those situations. And so Eric says, no, and these are just rumors that you hear as film students, or, that Eric got offered this A-list actor or actress and the next movie. And it would have been that Hollywood leap for him. But he said, yeah, but that's not my movie anymore. What am I? I'm doing somebody else's movie. And damn, Eric has just been so awesome. And last summer I went down to Soho. Not Soho. It was I was staying in Chelsea, and I took the subway down, and Eric and I got to have coffee for the first time in 15 years. And he's just as awesome as he's always been. No,
he's the real deal. He's does things for the right reasons. And look, I mean, you want to have a long career. That's really what you're looking at. Believe it or not,
Well, what's been the secret to your long career? Like what's the story there? Because it doesn't. When you're asking, what I'm asking is, there's always times when you made good choices and bad choices. Mm-hmm. Right. And we've already talked about going to SUNY Purchase for an economic reason, and it put you on the path to meeting Edie. I'm guessing it put you on the path to meeting Hal Hartley, who you've collaborated with quite a bit. He's a SUNY Purchase product. And here you are now. You've got your group, right? And I think everybody needs that collaborative group. Has it always been the right decision? Were there times when you're like, oh man, that stunk, how am I going to recover from that?
I've had a long career. There's luck, first of all. There's a lot of luck. I mean, but because it requires that, I think you want to you want to move where you're inspired. We all know this. I mean, it's pretty much do what moves you, do what what is it? Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss. I mean,
Sure.
But that's true. I mean, but that means a lot. That's a lot deeper than than just doing what feels good. But there's a lot to be said for that. I think Eric and Edie and myself have influenced each other. I mean, I think that I'm still influenced by those people. I'm still influenced by. I know that I know that I'm thinking in the right ways when. I mean, Eric and I talk a lot. So I just saw Edie. So I think that so financially you have good years and you have okay years. But the rest of it is just do what you want to do. I mean, I did this movie because it was because of how the women characters were written.
Mm-hmm.
That's what brought. So you find that thing that's a little different about the project, and there's always a fine line between needing to keep working and then doing something that's worthwhile. And I've done things where I was paid well, but where it just wasn't worthwhile, and and then other times where I mean, I wasn't paid much on this job, so. But
it's a one for them, one for me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do where it's like, hey, this one's for the gig.
Yeah.
And this one's for the soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
One we get if one withers and dies, the other one will follow. So we gotta keep the one for the gig, one for the money, and one for the soul. And if I can make enough with the money, I can do two for the soul next. But for the most part, it's got to be that balance.
Try to always stay in a place of becoming, because just stay, keep moving. You pretty much be all right.
Vincenzo Marsden is an actor on Facebook. He says, aside from meditation and the usual, how do you get outside of yourself and into a character? So aside from meditation and the usual, like what do you do to get outside of yourself and into a character?
I like that he brings up meditation. I really do. Vince, so I do those things, but I don't know. The characters, sometimes I don't know until I'm right there. Usually something will hit. There'll be some hook. There'll be some kind of something that. Sometimes it'll be somebody that I see out in life. There'll be just something that I see, and it's just got to ring true. Sometimes I do a bit of prep. That where I just sort of think through who was this person from when they were born to where we find them in the story. But a lot of times I'm pretty instinctual, so I rely on that. And the other thing we brought up before, Jonathan, about moving around, there's just that it always falls back on that. There's just a part of me that I'm where I trust myself when I have no idea. I'm good when I don't know what my next line is. I'm good when I think I don't know what I'm doing, and I go anyway. So
yeah, I guess being thrown into those new situations so many times, you have to learn to leap before you look and trust that you will land on your feet, which is such a huge part of life, because fear can be such a restrictive power. It can be destructive to us and keep us in a place where we are living a redundancy, or we are living in like a safety mechanism where we ask ourselves, why isn't this working? This thing that I've been trying and I've been at it so long, why isn't this working? And when will it be my turn and this and that. But really, it's almost like that diagram of one for them and one for me. You can keep that day job and keep yourself with the lights on.
Mhm.
But if you're not going out and trying new stuff to try and break out of that mold, you'll always be in that mold. You'll always have that glass ceiling that you don't know how to get above.
I protected that right to be an artist in the 90s by moving furniture. You know, luckily enough time went by and I haven't had to do that kind of stuff. But I mean, you know, I think people like Edie and Eric and people that I know, I always thought I was like, I'm standing up for the right to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to be stopped by not having the finances. That's not going to stop me, you know.
Right.
I'm not ambitious, and I've never been ambitious in terms of celebrity. As a matter of fact, it seems like a wart on the ass of progress in our business. If I'd have known it would become such a thing.
Well, what's the saying? Perfection is the enemy of good, because you're like, have you heard that? Perfection is the enemy of good, because you're aiming for this completely, you know, I don't know, a subjective goal that is ever moving and ever shifting, and before you know it, you've moved away from the true thing that you are, the true thing that you're about, and suddenly stuff isn't good anymore. You're kind of rudderless.
Yeah, I got a lot of I've gotten a lot of play out of not being afraid to make a fool out of myself, not being afraid to be a sucker. Don't be afraid to be bad, you know.
I celebrated, it seems, with my life. Michelle Vincent says, I love that. I'm good when I don't know what is next. And Jason Elliott says, I've enjoyed your work. You were awesome in Power.
Thank you. I loved working on Power. Man, I love those guys. That was wow. Yeah, that was I'm still good friends with all those people. Just saw Joe Perino, the guy who played Vincent. Amazing. We're going to be working again, me and Joe Perino, who plays Vincent, the head of the mob, on the fifth and sixth season. I was there for 2 seasons. So we're going to do Hal Hartley's next film with Edie Falco, called Where to Land.
The gang is back together, and
we're bringing somebody else in, so that's good.
And Bill, that'll be over Zoom or what? I'm joking.
We're shooting. We're shooting in New York City. We have to go through when we shoot. We have to. I'm in every scene, so I have to be tested every 48 hours. And you can shoot 8-hour days. I mean, whoever heard of that? An 8-hour.
Aren't those French hours? Isn't that what they call it? Like, they're like French hours.
French hours, yeah. I mean, yeah, and you can only shoot 3 or 4 days a week. Wow. So you know, I'm looking forward to working with Edie again and Robert Burke. Robert Burke's in it. Robert John Burke, and I think Parker Posey is going to do it. I don't know.
Okay, we'll see. No spoilers.
Yeah, no.
We don't want SAG getting mad at us suddenly, being like, "Hey, wait a minute, what production? We didn't okay."
No, they know. Oh no, they know. Yeah. They know.
Yeah. It seems like this opening up of Hollywood is like, you start hearing stories of, they're starting to shoot this and they're starting to shoot that. You know, we still have a raging pandemic going on, but like, art has to move forward. It is insane.
Well, you know, independent film should be streamlined for it, because we're shooting largely in just a couple locations.
And I'm guessing it's like a documentary crew, basically. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have your camera, you're going to have your sound, you're going to have probably some swing working on the electrical and the lights, but it's going to be run and gun, a little gritty.
We'll have no wardrobe person. We'll have no makeup artist, that's too bad, because that's therapy. Right. Those are always the people that, you tell all your problems.
You're stuck in the chair for 30 minutes. You're gonna be like, oh.
Oh yeah, they know everything. Yeah, so it's moving. SAGs, they're strict about it, as they should be. But I think like a third of our budget is taken up
With precautions.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Whereas
there's a
you would think that a bigger film would be. I mean, it's so much more of a risk, or a show that's going is so much more of a risk. Whereas a little film with just a few people in it, me and Edie and Bob and Joe, and just very few people, very few locations. There's a lot of precaution, as there should be, and I wish everybody would just wear their damn masks, because then we could all get back to work. Just please, just wear a freaking mask. Forget
it's moronic. Why it's politicized? It's moronic.
Oh my
it's
God,
insane. You've got Japan that has a culture of wearing masks, and they've worn masks for a long time, and we have even though we're not the same population, we have pretty synonymous calendar on exposure. And Japan's per death per infection is so much lower than the US.
You think of what was asked of people during the Depression, during the Dust Bowl, during World War II, what was asked of individuals. All we're being asked to do is to socially distance and wear a freaking mask. I mean, look, Dot in the movie is way ahead of the curve. I got a bandana on, and Dot was way ahead.
It's like what we said earlier in the movie, or early in the show. It's like the real pandemic seems to be stupidity and ignorance and misinformation. And I think that we have to keep, because they're dropping the ball. Whoever's in charge is dropping the ball. We have to keep each other in check. We there has to be a swing back to some level of social empathy. We have to look out for each other. We have to watch each other's backs. We have to make sure that we're not misinforming each other. We have to, make sure that we're actually pretty united when there's a lot of division going on in the messages that we hear. And again, I just drove from Los Angeles to South Carolina and back, and I've seen a lot of different types of people in a lot of different types of places. But at the end of the day, it seemed like everybody just wanted a roof over their head and food on their table. And I think you can get into any conversation with anybody with disagreements, and it's happening a lot online. Especially, I don't know if you read Eric's Facebook, but he loves posting it, and it's the best. And I love how active he is. But at the end of the day, you get into a disagreement with somebody, and you can always just tear it down to what are your immediate human concerns, and we all have the same ones.
That's right.
Food and shelter our loved ones, and then from there, we're not that different. I think we've completely been pushed to extremes, or to think that we're in extremes, and there's a divide and conquer strategy. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theory, but we're very easy to manipulate with a divide and conquer strategy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's there's in the very highest office of our lands, we're being purposely divided. Whatever your political affiliation, it doesn't matter. It's.
Well, it is good. It is good to know that you're discovering which friends would hide a zombie bite in a zombie movie. Like that's valuable information. I'm like, okay, that person would definitely hide a zombie bite and not let us know that he's infected. Okay, good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
As Jason Elliott says, this is a real life zombie movie where the threat is lack of common sense instead of the virus. But what I was saying earlier is that the arts have become important. We're all stuck in our homes. The arts have become pretty important. But I think human empathy has also become very important. And I was asked by Geekscape the other day, because I'm similar to Eric in that I post a lot of political stuff, and I try and make it funny. And somebody said, like, how can you be so, positive when you're posting all this stuff? And I do believe that the pendulum swings, and that the pendulum will swing back, and that what this is doing is it's causing people to be active. It's causing people to be awake. It's causing people to be aware, and only good things can come of that. No.
Well, we're at a breaking point. I mean, this looks an awful lot like, Berlin in the 30s to me, and I think that this is, it's either going to go the way of, if you want to know what the beginning of a dictatorship in this country could be, a capitalistic dictatorship, you're looking at it, and we've already had people with tiki torches, and it's just, racism is, I mean, things that as a white person, I grew up around a lot of black people, but all my black friends were like, they knew it was there. I mean, I really thought that this had been thrown into the scrap heap of time, that we would never see after Barack Obama. We would never see the same kind of thing, but we do. It's reared its head, and we're in for a very exciting election.
Yeah. Now, how's your post office doing? It's doing all right. Geekscapists who are watching this live or listening to this, I think that there are organized marches for the Postal Service this weekend, this Saturday. So it's worth looking into. Michelle Vincent, who's watching, says, "Well said, Jonathan. We have to watch out for each other. The arts are extremely important, and the arts are suffering, but the arts have always suffered. I think that the arts have always been, it's always been like, do you want to buy a bomb or do you want to invest in the arts?" And, and we know, Bill, like you and I know that the arts can be as powerful as a bomb. If you listen to the last episode I did with the Cursed Films filmmakers, we were talking about how a lot of our belief in possession, in exorcism, comes from the movie The Exorcist, not from anything else. And how D.W. Griffith was almost single-handedly responsible for bringing back the KKK with his depiction of them as heroes in, in Birth of a Nation. And so in that way, art is very important and can be as powerful or more so than a bomb. The pen can be mightier than the sword. We've heard it a million times, but no one wants to invest in it. Education and arts are the first thing cut. Bill's got to run around and, like, I don't know, when you're filming in a month or two, you're going to be running around like a film student making this movie with Hal.
We were supposed to have shot this we're supposed to shoot this in April. We've been in post forever on this. It keeps breaking down and coming back, and we're going to get it done. But my God.
Yeah. This movie, The Pale Door, when did you shoot this one?
Last year, we're shooting in late June, I think, through the month of June. Yeah.
Not a bad time to be. I mean, it was probably hot as hell in Oklahoma. You got to be telling me, like, that was hot as hell, right?
Hot as hell. Yeah. Mosquito. I mean, a lot of dealing with insects and fun as hell, but hot as hell. Yeah. It was once we moved to. Oh, that's nice. Once we moved to nights, let's put it this way, it was really welcomed. Moving to nights, the day shoots were just brutal. We were all happy to move to nights. But
is horror something that was new to you? And obviously, like, the action sequences, there, like, my favorite part of the movie is that first action sequence that happens in the bordello, and you get thrown over a railing, and you have to, like, shoot the head, like, you like blow a witch's head off while you're falling onto the ground. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Are you new to that kind of action choreography? Are you new to, like, the horror stuff, even though you've had a long career?
No, not really. I've done a lot of stunts throughout my career. It seems that, it never seems like the only thing that was new on this was the gun spinning thing. The horror is a genre that I love, and in a way that Eric loves it. We see, horror is anxiety, and you can couch something a little. You can couch a serious thing in the guise of something that's just. Horror film is a lovely genre for sneaking in a a relevant message.
Mhm.
So,
I think
I mean,
I
look at
agree with you.
yeah, look, I mean, Rosemary's Baby or The Shining, or
I think that's Eric's favorite movie too, is Rosemary's Baby. He loves
I,
it.
yeah,
He loves it.
yeah,
And I think it was Geekscapists who are horror fans. You can definitely I'm paraphrasing, so you can definitely correct me on this one. But I think it was John Carpenter, um, or it could have been John Carpenter. It could have been one of the other '80s horror directors who said that it's not the creation of terror; it's the release of terror. Like it's a cathartic experience making a horror movie. It's not something that
right,
will. It doesn't create the evil. It doesn't create something that then says, "Oh, I'm suddenly going to go shoot up my skull," or "I'm going to become more violent or hateful." It is the active catharsis of those feelings in a
right.
art form.
Yeah,
And
the best horror films, you never actually see anything
Mhm.
horrific. You know, it's something that's already inside of you that gets released. I mean, the obvious thing is, you know, Hitchcock and those things.
That stuff is brilliant. And of course, like the shark in Jaws, seeing the
Yeah,
shark in Jaws, like you see that movie, you see the shark very little in that movie. And I mean, across the board, my favorite, really like that real work with the dark and the removal of information is Alien. When Ridley Scott showed us so little, and I mean, the opening of that movie is just like, it's almost industrial. Here's where they eat, here's where they sleep, here's a spaceship. You don't know that it's going to be running, kicking, and screaming along those same things later on, but it takes its time and it really builds that tension through like giving you some information that it will later just remove. You know, the lights go
right.
out very quickly in that movie, and you
I
see
know.
less when you're terrified. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Bill, I'm going to let you go, but let me share your Instagram, Geekscape. If you want to follow Bill, he's Bill Sage _ on Instagram. Bill, it's pretty amazing that you're friends with Eric and Edie, that you come from that school. Like,
Incredible.
it's like, what a coincidence that you're in there.
I'm gonna call him. I'll call him now. I'll call Eric now.
Call Eric and tell him you were in Jonathan Lennon's podcast, and then he should put you in the next movie. Like, come on. He told me he was working on a couple ideas. He was working on this. He was working on that. Just tell him, listen, it's the pandemic. All right, what else you doing?
Yeah,
You doing some Zoom courses? Come on, put your foot down. Let's finish this thing. I'm ready to rock. I'm shooting like a film student right now with Hal. We're rocking. I'm feeling the groove. I'm not scared of anything. And like, failure is feedback. Like, I think that what we said earlier is like, rush into the unknown, try things. Like, if you're going to fail spectacularly, because that is a lesson that you will learn irrevocably.
Yeah, exactly.
Bill,
It's great talk.
Go ahead, sir.
To talk to you, man.
Dude, amazing. Geekscape, the movie's called The Pale Door. It's out on VOD, right? Oh yeah. The movie's called The Pale Door. It's out on VOD right now.
The 21st.
On the 21st. Okay, so Geekscape, it's going to be out in a few days on VOD. So strike that one. A couple days on VOD. You'll be able to watch it this weekend. And I think, you should enjoy it. I was into it because it was a Western. And then it had the horror elements, but I think if you approach it from a horror side, I think you'll enjoy it. But Bill, I knew nothing about you before this movie. I was like, hey, can we talk to Pat Healy? I'm kidding. I do like Pat, and we talk to each other. We talked to Pat. I talked to Pat Healy online. So when I saw the cast, I was like, hey, can we have Pat Healy? And she was like, you're getting Bill Sage. And I was like, I'll take Bill Sage. He's done a lot of cool stuff. I think we can talk to Bill Sage. And you know what? Don't tell Pat. I'm really glad I got Bill Sage. I will have Pat on the show.
Oh, you got to get Pat Healy.
But I'm glad I had. I would love to have Pat Healy.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to have Pat Healy, but I'm really glad we got Bill Sage. They're both
really great
in the movie. Dude, it was awesome. It was completely miraculous and awesome. They're both in this movie, The Pale Door. It's out this weekend on VOD. You're going to watch it. Michelle Vincent, she says, can't wait to check out the film. Okay, cool. Look for the gun twirling. That's what you want to look for. You want to look for that one.
Michelle. Yeah.
And of course, support
Yep.
Bill in anything that
Yeah.
he's working on. You're a Geekscapist now, Bill. We're gonna throw you out on Instagram, Bill Sage
Yeah.
_ dude, good luck on this Hal Hartley movie. We can't wait to watch that one. That'll be cool.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
Bill,
Tom.
I think,
Pleasure, man.
dude, of course,
Thank you.
of course. Stay safe, stay creative, and we're gonna get through this, okay, man. And like you said, keep wearing that mask, man. Geekscapist, that was Bill Sage. You can see him in the Pale Door again this weekend on VOD. It's a Western horror film. Go and follow him on Instagram too, at Bill Sage _. We're Geekscape. We're here all the time. I always have creative people on the show to talk to. And man, what a surprise. It's pretty amazing that Bill is close friends with Eric Mendelsohn, who really was like my, film school teacher, kept me in the game, kept me inspired, kept me, focused, because I was ready to bail. And you need people in your life to say, no, you're doing fine. It's just scary right now. You're doing fine. It's just scary right now. Maybe Geekscape has been that for you over the years. Maybe I've been that for you over the years, but Eric definitely was that for me creatively. You're doing fine. You're going to get this. Keep going. You definitely need people like that in your life. I want you Geekscapers to keep going. I want y'all to keep not hating, but creating. And I want y'all to follow us on any of the socials. Subscribe to us and share us with your friends on the podcatchers. Leave us a nice review. And until next time, don't hate.